Rising souls with fire inside, chasing dreams where the legends hide. Through the turns, the glory is real. Behind the wheel, we feel the thrill. Papa's house, the crown shines bright. Crazy lanes in the dead of night. Austin GT and 𝙃𝙼𝙑𝙀. Grim and the crew driving it insane. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, Magnottie's grace with every move. Jackal flies and jesters grin. This is the race where we all begin. C20 wave, buzz the track. Touchies roll, there's no going back. Worries pace and TQ's stride. 𝙃𝙼𝙑𝙀, the kingdom's pride. Papa's house, the crown shines bright. Crazy lanes in the dead of night. Austin GT and 𝙃𝙼𝙑𝙀. Grim and the crew driving it insane. Legends carved on asphalt's face. Racing royalty holds the space. We honor them, we join the scene. Our favorite racers, the speed supreme. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, Magnottie's grace with every move. Jackal flies and jesters grin. This is the race where we all begin. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, Magnottie's grace with every move. Jackal flies and jesters grin. This is the race where we all begin. Insane. 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 Erratic twists and Marley's groove, Magnottie's grace with every move. Jackal flies and jesters grin. This is the race where we all begin. Racing souls with fire inside, chasing dreams where the legends hide. Through the turns, the glory is real. Behind the wheel, we feel the thrill. Papa's house, the crown shines bright. Crazy lanes in the dead of night. Austin GT and 𝙃𝙼𝙑𝙀. Grim and the crew driving it insane. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, Magnottie's grace with every move. Jackal flies and jesters grin. This is the race where we all begin. C20 wave, buzz the track. Touchies roll, there's no going back. Worries pace and TQ's stride. 𝙃𝙼𝙑𝙀, the kingdom's pride. Papa's house, the crown shines bright. Crazy lanes in the dead of night. Austin GT and 𝙃𝙼𝙑𝙀. Grim and the crew driving it insane. Legends carved on asphalt's face. Racing royalty holds the space. We honor them, we join the scene. Our favorite racers, the speed supreme. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, Magnottie's grace with every move. Jackal flies and jesters grin. This is the race where we all begin. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, Magnottie's grace with every move. Jackal flies and jesters grin. This is the race where we all begin. Insane. 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 Driving insane. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, Magnottie's grace with every move. Jackal flies and jesters grin. This is the race where we all begin.
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? It's me, VKG, Back in the building, back in the house. We are on Behind the Wheel, episode number 18. That means 19 amazing guests and alumni that have graced us with their presence behind the wheel and told us the ins and outs of why they're here and why they do what they do. Today, I'm super honored for our guest, TyrannoCyrus Rex. He's TyrannoCyrus Rex, my bad. He is one of those guys that we love to check out at the beginning of the week because he provides us with the thing we need to know most. What is the anti-meta? I have always been made fun of for using the meta, but it's not my fault because I'm new to this. We got somebody here who's been doing this since full-time streaming since 2018. He started this way back in the 90s, and I'm challenging everybody here today to try to guess this man's age. When I found out how old he was, when I found out that how close to age we were, I blew my mind. But I'm challenging y'all. He's laughing in the background, making me laugh. It's been fun. We've been talking already for like 40 minutes, having a blast, man. I'm so excited for today. So without further ado, man, I'd like to introduce to y'all my man, TyrannoCyrus Rex. What's up, brother?
How you doing, everybody? What's going on, man?
Not much, man. I'm glad to have you on the show. I'm super excited. We've been having a blast already. I hope the mics are working because it looks like they're going crazy on screen. So if anybody hears anything crazy, let me know. But I think you sound good. I think everything looks good. Cams are working out. Is it good on your side?
Good to me. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Welcome everybody into the stream. We're already seeing Grover's back, RSRJ, Wilkie, Wrench Wrench, Captain Howdy, Jockey, always in here. Ken Scott, LVP, Blankenship. Good to see y'all. How you guys doing? Hope you're well. Any questions that you guys have, please drop them in the chat. Please, at the end of the episode, we always like to get an explanation on why we name ourselves what we name ourselves. So we'll save that for the end so nobody leaves early. We'll get questions out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm having a great day. How about you, brother?
I'm good, man. It's always hard to like restart the conversation after having such like so many laughs already.
Right.
But we're going to go back. Hopefully we didn't get into anything too depth, but I just want to bring you in. You're tuning in from Oregon, right? Oregon,
Yes,
USA.
sir.
And by way of Hawaii initially.
Yes, sir.
Right? So came to the States, you said, when you were younger. We both kind of grew up some hardships in our youth, but settled out here on the West Coast. You're out in Oregon, in the rainy state. I'm out in Arizona in the freaking heat state. So it's super hot over here, super humid over there. But really cool talking to you, man. Already we have a lot of similarities. Obviously you're a freak of nature on the track. I'm a destruction on the track, but I'm getting there. You are a heck of an athlete. I consider myself a subpar decent athlete as well. But just so everybody knows, I've seen some guesses. We got a 37 in there. I'm 37 years old, and when I asked you your age, it blew my freaking mind because you got these good Filipino genes, and this man is 40 years old, y'all. 40 years old. Yeah, I thought he was 23. I swear on everything. I thought he was 23, man. If you've seen some of his videos, if you know what he's about, Gran Turismo, super big on that. iRacing, some other sims there. But you're a hell of an athlete, and you like to mix, your disciplines together. You used to be a stunt man, all these crazy things.
Sure.
So really looking forward to talk about that. But I'll give you a moment right now to kind of say hello to everybody and take the floor.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. First off, I really appreciate you having me. Your intro is fantastic, by the way. I needed to tell you that. Yeah, I love sim racing and I love jumping. That's my that's my life right there. I like jumping, I like sim racing.
I don't know if
pretty much it.
anybody, so I usually save the graphics for like last, but I want people to understand, like, when you say jumping, I mean this is what we're talking about here. So we're turning the slideshow off. But I already dubbed this as the T-Rex flip. Tell us a little bit about what's going on here, because this looks like, are you in a Gran Turismo shirt too?
Yeah, so I was at the World Finals 2022. That's Kazunori Yamauchi dancing right there. And no one else wanted to dance. So I was like, let's get the party started. And I did a backflip for him. And then we danced for like 6 hours.
That's awesome, dude. So you've been around. This Gran Turismo thing has taken you to some really cool places. It's fulfilled some amazing dreams for you. Just to bring up a couple stats real quick, you've been streaming full time since 2018. You've
Yes,
already
sir.
you're about to break 6,000 subscribers. You're at 5.95 right now. Tell us a little bit about why you started this and kind of where YouTube came to be for you.
Yeah. So, yeah, back in 2018, I had a pretty much a job that wasn't going anywhere. I was a stuntman, but up in Oregon, there's not a lot of opportunity for that. And I had a friend. One, I had still been sim racing after making it to GT Academy in 2014, and I had a friend who had made some money streaming. And so I was like, you know what? I want to take the chance. I have the opportunity right now. I think I might be able to actually make a career out of this. And so I started focusing on Twitch, and I got to Twitch partner, I think, in about 3 years. And it was about 2 years ago, I realized that the ceiling's too low on Twitch. So I'm like, I got to focus on YouTube. So I've been going really hard on YouTube since then, trying to figure it all out. And as we talked about, like, it's a different thing. So I couldn't apply everything I learned on Twitch to YouTube, and I'm still just trying to figure it out at the moment.
So we were talking a little bit about this, kind of the difference between Twitch and YouTube. And I know a lot of people try to multi-stream. Are you still trying to do the Twitch thing while you're doing YouTube?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm still on Twitch 3 days a week, and then I do my current goal right now is to do a bunch of shorts, the anti-meta guide, and then one narrative-based video on YouTube. So the majority of what I'm doing is still streaming live on Twitch, and then YouTube, I'm like slowly kind of balancing that out.
Okay, okay, okay. I think we might have a little bit of delay in here, but oh well, it is what it is. So I put your links for your Twitch and all the other social medias that you provided on your channel in the link description.
Beautiful.
So if anybody wants to check that out, please go and support him. This man does a lot of work, and he puts in the extra effort. I know one of the things you're really passionate about is you want your channel to be entertaining, but you also want this to be helpful to people. And for
Yeah.
myself, I'm always trying to look for very simple tutorials that help me, get faster quickly, that are relevant, that are based on this week. And the anti-meta club has been something that I frequently visit. Where did you kind of get started with that, and why do you put so
Yeah.
much time into helping us?
So firstly, like we talked, like we spent a lot of time talking about a lot of stuff. I had a good time with you.
Yeah, man.
But when I used to teach martial arts, so I taught martial arts for 14 years. And I just kind of fell into it when I was trying to chase my other goal. But I realized through the time teaching martial arts that actually being able to affect people's lives and watch the change that you can help people implement in their lives is extremely rewarding. And so if I can educate people, share my knowledge as well as entertain at the same time, then I think that I would be satisfied for the rest of my life. And so when it comes to the anti-meta club, I saw that a lot of people were doing tutorials. One of my good friends, Mr. MCA, had been doing tutorials, and I wanted to do the same thing, but I didn't want to step on his toes. I saw that other creators were doing tutorials. I can't just do the exact thing everyone else is. One, because I don't want to just copy them, and two, because it's just not going to gain any traction. And I've always really liked driving the cars that I want to drive rather than the car that happens the best for the combination. And so I'd had luck in the past with taking like non-meta cars and getting them close to the top 10 or in the top 10 or winning with those. And it actually started, I don't think I mentioned this before, but I was doing manufacturers a lot, the manufacturers competition. And the meta car is always going to be good, but seeing the people at the upper echelon being able to take like any car and then compete with cars is all. So I've spent a lot of time focusing on that, and I realized that people don't want to drive the same car every week.
No.
And if I want to make a guide, then I can help them do something I can help them figure out how to drive something that isn't the meta car. And so the idea just kind of came from that.
Heck yeah. No, I think it's one of the fine struggles that we find, because after we get on Gran Turismo, and even for me, like after 6 months of kind of doing the same thing, and I guess I was a little different because I was telling you I used to do 10, 12-hour qualifying sessions, like trying to
Yeah.
trying to teach myself this game. And we were talking a little bit later, and we'll jump into kind of how this game has disciplined us and how sports kind of raised us into that understanding of practice, 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 equals better performance. But I
Yeah.
spent 6 months just qualifying. And then once I got confident enough to race, I spent a lot of time racing. And then it was, well, how do I make my channel a little different? How do I stand out
Yeah.
and be kind of the same, not too much the same? Because I think guys go a little bit, off the deep end. We've had a whole lot of, punts of the week, or, crashes
Yeah.
of the week, or things that are kind of glorifying the naughty side. And I think I was telling you earlier, I think that's maybe adjusted the culture a little bit, because people will see
Yeah.
that YouTube kind of badge, and then they'll almost go after you on track. They'll kind of, because they know that you're streaming and they know that they're going to get some kind of clout. But you've been able to come up with something that is extremely helpful, that is repeatable content, and it's making you better while making others better. So I think it definitely stands out. It definitely pops into my feed every week when one jumps up. So thank you for doing that. That's super awesome
Absolutely,
of you.
brother.
But you have to get to a certain point where you can do things like that. And we were talking, I can't make track guides. If I make track guides, people are going to laugh at me and probably rip them apart because it's like I'm doing so many things wrong. But you've reached a certain pedigree or a certain level of clout, or I guess just legendary status in the Gran Turismo community. So tell us a little bit about some of the places that Gran Turismo has taken you. You got a lot of accolades. So I guess let's go back to, what is it, 2022, when everything kind of went crazy for you?
Yeah. So it started back in like GT Academy 2014. They flew me out to New York. I almost made it to the finals. It was unfortunately because I didn't have any real life car experience that they didn't move me forward to the international finals. And then life kind of got in the way, and I had to focus. So I didn't get to sim race nearly as much as I wanted to. But then when I started streaming, I realized that in order to like really stand out in streaming, then I need to focus on the fact that I am competitive. So I need to nurture that. And so I started practicing, just grinding as much as I could. I put as much time into the streaming as I put into the actual practice off stream. And it all came together in 2022. In the same year, I made it to Monaco for the Gran Turismo World Final. I also made it to the Porsche esports, the very first Porsche esports national championship. And I got flown down by Toyota to LA to compete against Samantha Tan in a real racers versus sim racers competition. And I did so well in that I then got invited to join Samantha Tan Racing. And I've been part of STR ever since then. I also competed the next year in 2023 in the Porsche esports, making it to the finals. That's where that picture's from. And yeah. And so I had this last year's been kind of crazy for me. So I haven't been grinding the pace quite as much, but I'm looking at next year to try to return to the World Finals.
Dude, looking at some of these pictures, it's amazing. Those experiences, man, that's the peak of this sport. We just watched, I think they just had a Gran Turismo, was it the World Finals again? World Series again, and just kind of watching that for the first time for me, like, wow, like the amount what a video game I've watched a lot growing up, kind of watching the Madden tournaments and stuff. But with Madden, it's you pick up a controller, you get in front of a TV, and you try to put your football knowledge into it as best as you can. It's frustrating for me because my brain and all the football knowledge I have doesn't, translate to the buttons yet. But when it comes to this game, there's so much more to it. Like between the rig, the wheel, having your setup right, having, the distance between your face and the screen dialed in, the right size screen. I mean, there's so many different little advantages that come. So tell us a little bit about, kind of your setup and, I guess, how you've progressed into what you're running now.
Yeah. So like I started with my very first wheel was the G27. And so that is, if you're familiar with the G29 or the G928 or whatever that is right now, it's essentially the exact same hardware, which back then was the same hardware as the G25, which is like a 20-year-old wheel right now. And so that's how I started. I then went to Fanatec CSR, which is actually a Forza branded wheel. And I got my very first, I can't remember what it's called. The pressure controlled. Everyone's going to make fun of me for this one. What is it called? What is the brake? This is going to be so funny. People are going to make fun of me for so long.
I have no idea.
I'm so embarrassed right now.
Are we talking
Road Beef
about,
is going to say it in chat.
We're talking about pedals?
Yeah, the when your brake pedal isn't a potentiometer. Load cell. Oh my God. I couldn't think of the word load cell this entire time. That's the ADHD.
There we go.
I got a load cell back in 2014, I think. And that kind of transformed the way I drive. And yeah, that's so funny. I couldn't think of the word load cell. And then I had, I didn't mention this before, but I had a weird adapter by some guy his name was like Basher. It was a Basher board setup. He was like one of the very first people making homebrew sim equipment. And that did me well for a little while, but it was like in 2020 or 2021, I realized that it was malfunctioning. And so I didn't realize that I had a completely messed up load cell for like my first couple of years of competing in GTWS and FIA. So
Jeez.
I ended up going through 4 loads completely and just going to the basic pedals. And as soon as I went to the basic pedals, it's been way better. Gran Turismo is interesting when it comes to load cells. I'm not saying they don't work, but it's hard to get it right. And so yeah, now I've
Interesting.
got the DD Pro, the first gen. I actually got the special Bape edition. I'm wearing the hoodie from it too, but then the wheel
I
itself
was
broke, so I'm
wondering,
back
I
on the
saw
normal
the
one.
Bape GT hoodie. I was like, I didn't
Yeah,
even know that was a collab.
yeah. I didn't know until the night before, and then
Thought
I
you
dropped.
made that. That's
Right?
sick. Cause I
It's so
make
good.
shirts and stuff. Like I make all my own stuff.
Yeah,
But I had a little t-shirt gig. So I noticed that, and like I've never had a Bape hoodie, but I've had to buy Bape hoodies for my
yeah.
son. And they're not
That makes
cheap,
sense.
man. Those are that's
Yeah.
pretty sick, man. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I'm in debt now because of it, but it's
Dude, sim racing, I if
yeah,
streaming the revenue you get from streaming, man, only kind of like patches a couple wounds, man.
yeah,
Because we were
yeah.
just talking about it. It's just in this last year, I'm on my 4th or 5th wheel. I started with the T80, went to the TS300, and then the CSL Elite, and then the
Yeah.
DD1 F1 podium. So, and
Solid.
this thing is crazy solid. I forgot to turn off the force feedback. I jumped from the Gran Turismo game and then plugged it into the PC and tried to jump on ACC. Then I was just
Mm,
driving along and then I wrecked, and I mean it damn near broke. It hurt my wrist for real, like, but
yeah.
it damn near broke it. And I was like, okay, I need to turn this thing down. And now I'm always like nervous when my kids are around it, like,
Yeah, no,
truly
legitimately.
be careful. Let me double check, that the force feedback's down, because it will absolutely destroy you. But so what do
Yeah.
you think is the most necessary? Because you're at the peak. What do you think is the most necessary equipment to compete at that level?
I think so. The one thing I've heard about the G29 and the G928 is that it doesn't communicate oversteer, which can be extremely tricky. What's interesting about that is I think if you're able to work on that and get to the point where you're driving not reactively, but proactively to the point where you know when you're going to slide out rather for it to happen, then I think that can really greatly improve your skills. You talked about the T80. That's the one that doesn't have the feedback, right?
Yeah, no, it was like it's the like the very first entry
Yeah.
level one. It's so bad.
So Rush, who's now on a team with Valerio Gala, the number one North and South American NSX driver who's competing this year in
Uh,
GTWS, that was the wheel he started on. And when he was using that, he
Jeez.
was faster than me. Like he's already faster than me. As soon as he moved to the DD Pro, he got crazy. I think he probably had a wheel in between that too. So I think what's necessary is just having a fully functioning wheel that's maybe a step above the very minimum. I think anything above a T80 is possible to compete in. I know Digits set top tens with the G29, and I know that multiple world finalists have gotten to the world finals on the T300. And on top of
Wow.
that, there are also multiple world finalists who've gotten there on controller. So, are
Yeah.
you familiar with Dodge Lamb?
No, never heard of Dodge Lamb.
So Dodge Lamb is actually in the game as the very first person, 𝙃𝘼𝙑. He's the guy who introduces you to the
Okay.
tests. He's made it to every single event, and he's made it to like 7 or 8 different events. He's a two-time world champion, and every time he made it to the world event, he did it on controller. Learning
Wow.
to do that on wheel is a completely different thing as
I
anyone
thought
who's
I
done
heard that
that
like
change.
Gallo is good on controller too.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know Tidge is like almost as fast on controller as
That's
well.
crazy.
Like a lot of the guys.
I
Calster
literally
is still
can't
on
use a
controller.
controller now. I if
Me
I
either.
I at work there's a PS5 that I can kind of, because I'm on shift, like at the beginning of the
Yeah.
week, so I don't get to practice or anything. So I was trying to, because we got Gran Turismo on a PS5, and I was like, all right, well maybe I can get some track, a little bit of track guide down, and then when I get home I can race for real. But I
Yeah.
was trying to jump into lobbies and stuff, and I was just all over the dang place. It's a
I can't
whole
do
new
anything.
learning curve. I can't do it anymore. Now I'm so spoiled. I can't wait to get back to my rig by the end of the week, man, and try to
Yeah.
catch up with folks. I'm finally at a place now. Like I was telling you earlier, the last few weeks I've been able to break into like the top 300s, and the
Yeah, that's
highest
huge.
highest I've ever been was 77th at the end of the week, and that was at 𝙃𝘼𝙑𝙀 when they had like
Oh,
the F4 car. I
Yeah.
think it was, and then like the week right after that, they had the Subaru, and you had to kind of like hit the e-brake in one of the corners, and I figured that
Yep.
out, and I was just the killer time. The only problem is like on my friends list, there's only like 8 out of the 100 who actually did it. So I was like, ratio wise, I'm sure the rest of the world didn't like this one either. So, but I felt good. I'll hang on to that. But the
Still did it.
difference, yeah, the difference from breaking into, I saw a video that I posted not long ago. I mentioned this a lot. I had bragged about being like 74,000th in the world. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, I'm getting faster. And now that I'm like breaking consistently in the top 1000s, I'm trying to figure out where that next level of racecraft comes. And I'm
It's so
slow.
weird.
The more and more I think about it, it's less of the equipment, it's more user error. So
Yeah. Yeah. When I was trying to get into GT Academy, so I first started, I think 2011, and I was something like literally 30,000th in the world. And then the next year I was 3,000th.
oh
And
geez.
then I ended up, sorry, it was like, I think I tried for 4 years actually, because I was something ridiculous, like incredibly slow. Then I was like 30,000, then 3,000, then 300. And then it was, no, that's right. When I made it, I was 300 something in the world, which translated to 30 something in the United States. And
Ah.
so, yeah, it's really weird.
So
One, how low competitive the US actually is, but two, like how I went from incredibly slow in a few years to actually making it.
definitely an interesting topic when we talk, because I got like a UK account, I got a USA account,
Yeah.
and I mean in the UK, I'm not that good.
It's
Like
wild.
those
It is
guys,
wild.
I feel like they grew up on this like way more than we did. They just
So one of the
racing's different.
yeah. So one of the when I first had the conversation, I actually had this conversation with Lamb about 6 years ago. And so my thought was that, more people were into all kinds of racing over there and that kind of stuff. And what I've come to learn is that that might be a consideration, but I think what's more attributing to the EMEA being more competitive is that it's actually bigger than all of the other regions combined. And
Oh.
so there just happens to be way more people because of like the larger sample size. And so, and I've witnessed the opposite end because when I started a new account in EMEA, it was insane the way that people were driving. And so I think I don't know for sure, but I think it ends up being because there's just so many more people
Yeah.
in
And
that region.
from being an athlete, I know you ran a little bit of track and field in high school. I ran a
Yeah.
little bit of track and field. We're both jumper. I mean, you went somewhere totally different with your jumping
Yeah.
capabilities. I mean, I always call myself a subpar athlete with professional dreams, and I chased sports as long as I could until my body gave out. But
Yeah.
um, that practice, man, that repetitive practice, trying to develop the neuroplasticity, trying to get the muscle memory, trying to get your brain to be able to translate what you're thinking to what your body can actually do.
Yeah.
How long was it that you really felt until you were genuinely competitive? Was it from the beginning you wanted to be one of the best, or was it like
Yeah.
somewhere down the road where you figured out that you could be?
So, like, interestingly enough, I just happened to, I fell in love with drifting. I just love drifting. I watched way too much Initial D. And so I just wanted to find any game that like accurately represented drifting. And so I spent thousands upon thousands of hours in Gran Turismo 3, Gran Turismo 4, just drifting, just for fun. And so it was pretty much the only thing I ever did. But then GTHD came out. I think it was 2005 or 2006, and they had leaderboards. And I was like, well, I love drifting. I might as well try it. And so, like, on my very first attempt, I was like in the top 20, top 30, something like that. And so then I wanted to go in and I was like, maybe I can get into top 10. And so it didn't take long to get into top 10. And then I was like, maybe I can get a national record. And it was not very long that I got the national record with it. And so then over the next week, I was like, I want to see how many, there were 20 different leaderboards. I was like, I want to see if I can get multiple top tens, multiple national records. I ended up having the number one spot on all the drifting 20 for a month or 2 months until I got a job, which is that was the
Jeez.
that was the funny thing we mentioned before. But yeah, and so like when I had the time, I realized that it was at that moment that I realized that like literally the connection between practice and skill. And I realized that if I casually did something for thousands of hours, then I could then compete on a national or an international level. And that actually gave me the drive to actually pursue my lifelong dream of becoming a stuntman. I thought to myself, if I can compete on this level doing this than if I fall in love with something else and I put the same amount of time and energy into it, then I can compete on that level with anything I put my time and energy into. And so it was nearly 9 years later when GT Academy, actually, it was only like 5 or 6 years later when GT Academy started. And I've been making strides towards becoming a stuntman. I was teaching martial arts. I was doing tricking, which is the martial arts mixed with gymnastics, and I had never forgotten the feeling of getting all of those national records. And so I applied the exact same thought process into trying to compete for GT Academy. And then after a few years, like it was really eye-opening to see, like being able to see the actual improvement of my skills as I was putting in that work and just applying that same concept to it.
That's wild. That's wild. No, I mean, I believe in life the same way. You got to put in the work. I mean, and it was frustrating. And Crawler's in here, so shout out to Crawler. He's insanely fast. I don't know if you know Crawler, but he got the A+ in like both the UK and USA almost overnight. He's just an amazingly talented. He prides himself on knocking off the big YouTube guys. But
yeah, he's good.
I make sure I always shout out to him. So shout out to Mr. Crawler. Sammy Snake's in here. He's going to be BTW 19. Shout out to Sammy Snake.
Let's go, Sammy.
Sammy's also insanely fast. Like it's like watching 𝙃𝙼𝙀𝙀, you know, and so in my head I'm looking at you guys and I'm like, okay, I'm hearing the commonalities and the resumes. You know, I've been racing for X amount of years. I put X amount of time in it, you know, and every time I talk to one of you guys, I gain a little bit more, you know, of the kind of secrets, you know, whether it's talking to 𝙃𝙼𝙀 and he watches multiple replays, like different guys. I'm always chasing the same ghost, but he'll switch up the ghost. So, cause you'll learn this from this guy. You'll see this, you know, this guy takes this corner. And when you put it all together, now you create your own line. And then hanging out with 𝙃𝙼𝙀, and it's like, well, you got to stop chasing ghosts, man. You got to learn to lead, not to follow. And I'm like, duh, makes perfect freaking sense.
Yeah.
You know, and then like, you know, like I said, Luke came in, you know, one of the 𝙃𝙼𝙀 guys, and he was like telling me about how I'm dragging my throttle, you know, and leaving, you know, not getting full rotation in my apexes. And I'm like, man, more racecraft to learn. How long did it take you to get to the point where now I guess you just kind of jump in every week and you're in the top? Like, was that, is it years?
It felt like years. I mean, I always like, as soon as I started streaming and competing in GTWS, the level of talent of people who are in the top split, who are like consistently making it to the world tours, like these are the people that I'm just jealous of all the time. Cause like, I mean, like Lamb, who I mentioned earlier.
It's a 𝙃𝙼𝙀,
like,
Sammy. It's a 𝙃𝙼𝙀. He ain't gonna take that thing.
Can't get out of this thing. When like I remember multiple times putting hours upon hours into a trial, and then Lamb would be like, "Oh hey, all right, hold on, I need to set a lap," and then he'd beat me by 3/10, and then he just raced me and then beat me on track as well. And so I'm like, how are you even doing this? And so like, it's similar to you. Like I just keep finding like little secrets, like little bits of information to go faster and faster, and it's just chipping away at all of it. And so I don't even really like when it comes to like the times I set for the anti-meta club. Sometimes I can do it in like 20 minutes. There are times where it takes me 3 or 4 hours. So I'm still grinding out there. I'm still like putting in the time to try to get my time up. Sometimes I get really lucky and I'll get really quick, really fast. But yeah, it's still a grind for me. I'm usually really putting in the time.
I'll watch like Flash make a post and he's like, "Yep, 10 laps."
Flash is crazy.
Top 10.
He's so fast.
Awesome, Flash. Thanks for putting that little bit out there that it only took you 10 laps. And then I think even do you know Manny? Manny's pretty quick too. Yeah, Manny, he's pretty quick too. And he's like, yo, I think last week he was like top 30 after 2 laps. I was like,
it's been crazy watching Manny.
What the heck? He's so gifted, like naturally. And that's how I know that I'm trying too hard when I'm like flexing and fighting this thing, because like I watch 𝙃𝙼𝙀 and like Manny and they're just super calm, super relaxed. So like, all right, I'm doing something wrong.
It is the culmination. So when I met Monty on a random stream, I want to say 3 years ago, and he had just like, he got the Twitch partner by 2K, NBA 2K. So he was grinding that. And then I don't know what happened with that, but he decided to pursue Gran Turismo. When he first started, he was nowhere near as fast as he is now. He would grind like, I want to say 12 to 16 hours a day, every single day. And it took him doing that for like a year before he made it to top split. but he was putting in the time. And so what's really interesting is like you see guys that'll go in there like Flash, like Monty, and they'll go in a couple laps at that time. What you're really witnessing is like the culmination of the thousands upon thousands of hours before that led to that point.
Right.
So like it's really interesting because like I have the same feeling. Like Lamb will get in there and he'll defeat me in an instant without thinking about it. But he put in that time, just like we're putting in that time.
Yeah.
So you'll get to that point. 100% you're going to get to that point.
Starting to get to the point where like I get excited for certain tracks and certain combinations.
Yeah.
I'm not as intimidated at the GR number going down as I used to, because I got really good at GR4s, got really good with my Lambo, and then they nerfed it, and it was like, okay, so now my Lambo sucks, so I didn't get to like use it at all. Luckily, the G70 looked out for me, so shout out to Mr. Frunty out there who used to coach me up, but he says I don't need it anymore. Do you have any like coaches that that you go to hey, how do I fix this? Or in the beginning, was it did you like the couch coaches, I call them?
Yeah, so like when it comes to like I do not like the what's it called, the backseating when it comes to streaming anymore. Like there are a few people where I'll be like, I do want your information. It's usually like the top split people. Like it's actually a lot of my competitors. Like Lamb has spent a lot of time helping me out, and Aphelion, if you're familiar with Tomas, he is one of the very best Gran Turismo drivers, one of the best sim racers in the entire world. He has top 100 iRacing score, like top 100 of all of them. And he started on an old rally sim to Gran Turismo on motion controls, and he's just grinded. But he has spent an incredible amount of time. Him and Lamb have both spent an incredible amount of time in my ear, just helping me out. And then the sim racing team I used to be on, SV, all of those guys would collaborate, and they're all willing to help me out. So yeah, I'd say that getting on a team is one of the things you do to cultivate your pace. Because one, like if you're in a comfortable environment with people that you know, and you having them help you out, and wanting to help you out, and having multiple viewpoints of when it comes to like the type of mistakes you're making and how to increase your pace, I think that's huge. So like I definitely take advice from a lot of my peers, and then people who are just that step ahead. And when I got to GT Academy, I should have mentioned this earlier, it was entirely because I was watching Tigny's.
Shout out to Tigny.
100% for Tig.
I mean, he's another super brain, and I look at
incredible.
That's why I love watching Digit like every week. I haven't missed a not a stream, but I haven't missed watching him every week on whatever I'm driving, because it's all the racecraft you need. And then he's got the website and all the data and all that
smart,
awesome stuff. Like absolute brainiac, which is awesome. So I love when guys put that out there. I don't so much mind the backseat driving. I actually kind of like when the bickering happens in the chat about the backseat driving, because the grand theories are going to float to the top. If someone says something and you got a good quality chat going on, someone's be like, no, here's what I think about that. So and I'm a psychology major. My degree's in psychology, so we literally would spend classes arguing and learning to argue, and because you gain so much information. When people disagree with each other, that's when you really find differences of opinions and grand theories that come through. And if you got the confidence to say it, put it out there. I got accused one time, it was like I was giving advice, and someone had said, Viking, you can't give advice, you ain't been here long enough. And I was like, all right, trying to help out a newbie. But I think the way that I think, and as a coach, I've been coach for a long time. I've been a psychologist for a long time, and just the way that I think and compartmentalizing, the information that I need. I try not to spend too much time on things that are wrong. So when I jump on a track to like qualify, I try to watch the replays, and I try to mimic what they're doing until I reach at least that level, so I can try to surpass it, which is very rare. But practicing the wrong things is just as bad too. So I do appreciate when someone who has that kind of that experience helps me out. So shout out to those people who do put that out there. I do want to take a little bit of time to kind of say hi to everybody in the chat. I don't know if you see some familiar faces that you want to shout out to.
Oh man, I see so many people. Jay, Henry, my baby Sid. Hi Sid. Road Beef, one of my favorite people in the entire world. Another person who's helped me in in an incredible way. Road Beef is also one of the most underrated sim racers in the entire world, in my opinion. He's also in Gran Turismo. You see 𝙃𝙼𝙑𝙀 any of the races? Go ahead and play. Man, I saw a lot of people. LVP, TC, Cole Trickle. I know you. 𝙃𝐻𝑼𝙂𝙀. I love you, 𝙃𝐻𝑼𝙂𝙀. You're amazing. Wrench Wench, Sammy Snake. I know all these people. I love seeing all these people show up. Ken Scott, wonderful man. I love all the people that have showed up. This is fantastic.
So let's talk community for a minute. Now that we got all their attention and they're here watching, what about the community is your favorite part? What drives you about this YouTube community feel?
So that's the interesting thing. Like, I feel like everyone who spends the time in the community and spends like a good amount of time in the community is pretty much like they're united by the same passion, regardless of their background. So there's so many different people from so many like drastically different. Oh, I see. I have to say hi to Howdy and J Funky Beautiful Man. I see. Top offer and subscribe. Everyone is. I like to cultivate a community where you can be as goofy as possible. I think sim racing is taken too seriously by a lot of. Henry's a pervert. We'll just say that, but that's not an insult. And that's not an insult
Henry's
whatsoever.
a legend with
Henry's an absolute legend. I love Henry. Henry's a fantastic
I've loved
man.
Henry since the beginning, man. He can't be at all inappropriate.
And Crawler, yeah. I was really mean to Crawler at one point. We had an incident, and I was
Crawler's
like, "This."
mean to me.
I was like, and then like I watched the incident. I'm like, "Yeah, that was my fault." And then all my friends are like, "Dude, this is a good guy. Why are you being a dick?" I'm like, "You know what? I am being a dick." And then Crawler messaged me. I messaged Crawler, and we worked it out. Like there are so many different like. What's really interesting is like because I don't know if it's because we all have to spend so much time with each other, but because we're united by the passion of just loving sim racing, loving racing, loving the automobile culture, everyone ends up just. It seems like everyone's able to have a good time with each other, except like where they come from outside of sim racing. And so whatever it is, I love it. The Gran Turismo community is fantastic. I think maybe potentially because Gran Turismo is known for being more accessible than like iRacing, ACC, like the more serious ones, because Gran Turismo is so open, and like Kaz himself has talked about how he would rather have a game that's accessible to let anyone get into sim racing rather than have an incredibly realistic sim racing sim. I think partially because Gran Turismo is so accessible, that's one of the reasons that like the community is so vibrant and the community just vibes together.
Well, and I mean, I think Gran Turismo as a organization or corporation, what as a business, whatever, as a global icon in gaming, whatever it is, I think they pride themselves on that community aspect too. I mean, when you look at the GTWS, when you look at the Gran Turismo Academy, when you look at the movie, and just they've been about community and building a game that's not isolated like that. And I mean, I love the graphics. I mean, they put so much energy and time into the graphics that the immersion level, like if I want to go seek out that immersion level, I can, but we're still, you still got guys who are driving in, in the overhead view, that are, competitive in this game. Obviously the immersion has, some sort of latch on it, but the community aspect and being able to jump into races and lobbies so easily, and you don't got to buy all this extra stuff. Obviously that's why, it's the king of sims, and I get it, Simcade. And that brings me on to, I was going to ask you earlier, when it comes to the different games and the communities associated with the games, I mean, you have a strong preference towards GT, versus playing in iRacing and stuff. I know you've done a lot of iRacing. Kind of what do you think's the big differences in those?
So like iRacing, like we talked about, like iRacing is immersive. iRacing is like the closest thing you can get to real racing. But guess what? Real racing isn't fun most of the time. Like Gran Turismo is so much fun. The last time I seriously prepped for a race in iRacing, I was trying to prep for the 24 Hours of Daytona. And so I was doing Daytona, not dailies, but just Daytona races. And I had time to just do one. And I was streaming it, and I jumped in the race. I got taken out before the start finish line. I was like, is this the realism we want? It's like, is this why we're doing this? Like, do we want to have fun sim racing, or do we want to actually like
frustrating? Like you're out of the race. You're done.
Do I want to be like, is that the part of sim racing that I love?
The frustration.
Or do I really love driving? In Gran Turismo, like I'll sacrifice 10% realism. I'd sacrifice 20% realism to have a day of fun.
For sure.
rather than,
Because I mean,
and
going to the track day, I mean, it's like everybody wants to be on a boat, right? And wants to go on a
yeah.
boating trip, except for the guy who owns the boat,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like
I've heard someone say that
like
before.
I could imagine having a race car and how frustrating that life would be to get the one clean race out of the year, maybe. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because
exactly.
you better have deep pockets, you know, to constantly be fixing things, constantly be breaking things. So when I do look at the realism of some of these other sims, I'm like, well, now you're like, for me as a viewer, now I'm watching you like crawl through the race for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
so when people talk about like realism and Gran Turismo and that kind of thing, like it doesn't have to be a one-to-one copy of real life physics for you to still be able to learn how to actually do it too. Like the GT Academy guys have proven that. I got to go do a track day at the Thermal Club and
Ranchi, you
I had
legend.
never like I've slid my car around a little bit. I've had rear wheel drive cars. I've never tried to do any focused actual drifting as much as I possibly can. I've never done a track day except for at GT Academy and then down at Thermal Club. I drifted an M8 like it was a video game. The instant that I got in that car and I stepped on the throttle, I immediately recognized exactly what I needed to do to slide that car and to control it around the track, and it was 100% because of Gran Turismo. Every time that I've gotten behind a wheel and I've competed or like when I made it to iRacing, I was competing against guys who were like hardcore iRacers. I forgot to mention this. I did an event with Lazarus, and I was actually on a sim racing team with Tony Kanaan for a day.
Holy.
And there was a guy who was immediately making fun of the Gran Turismo driver, specifically didn't choose me for his team because I'm a Gran Turismo driver. I outqualified him. And so I'm like, I spent 2 days on iRacing. You play this game every day. Shit. Sorry. My bad.
You're
Out here cussing. And he's talking about Gran Turismo and I outqualified. I was faster than 5 or 6 of the iRacing people who spent every day doing iRacing. Gran Turismo might not be a one-for-one simulation copy, but it is exactly close enough that you can learn everything you need to.
I mean, I really feel like I've definitely gotten better. I had my only experience with real life translation is about 2 months ago. My company had a management retreat, and one of the events that we got separated into like 5 teams, like 8 people on each team. It was a pretty big event, and we had to go to this karting place, and one of the events was karting. So, and I immediately, like, I was so confident, like from the jump, I was like, I'm setting the fastest lap of the day in the park, period. I have been sim racing for a year straight. I am so prepared for this. I brought my gloves up there. I was going to dang near bring my own helmet. I mean, so when we strapped up in this, I was telling everybody straight, I said, I'm getting fastest lap. What's the track record here? Boom, boom, boom. And sure enough, like we were the first team that got drawn, and like everybody was like, I was hyped up. Everybody was so excited for me to get on. And I did. I went out there and I absolutely crushed it.
Let's go.
I set the fastest track time in the track like for like a long time. They were like, the last guy who broke 30 seconds was like, he worked here like a year ago. And I was so freaking stoked. And I was like, man, I want to, and I was telling Misa, I was like, I'm ready to sell my bikes and get a race car. Like, even if I got like a little Miata with a roll cage, like Tucson Speedway is not too far away. I really want to see if this translates, man. So it makes me excited when I hear people like, oh, I learned this on this, and watching 𝙃𝘼𝙃 and talking to him, because he was in the what was it, the 𝙃𝘼𝙃 or whatever, that one car, and he's been in a couple cars. He actually got to drive the Austin Martin. And I was like, dude, that's insane. So I don't know. Do you want this to translate into real life? Are you gonna go get yourself a race car one day?
Yeah, so like I actually still have an S13. I have a 240 SX with an SR20
that's the same.
DT sitting in my
same
garage.
240 that you were telling me about earlier?
It is not actually.
Different
it
one?
is
Okay, so multiple.
It's I had a SIL 80 for a bit with an SR20, and then I bought just an S13 with the Koki taillights, and then I got that motor transplanted, and that was my daily up until 8 or 9 years ago. And that's just been sitting in my garage waiting for the time where I have the money and the time to turn it into a drift car. I want to get out. I don't even care about competing. Drifting has always just been my passion. I just want to do it for fun, but just being able to get out there and drift would be the biggest goal.
And definitely someone brought up the $400 race all day at Sebring. Jeez. Tires alone. Jeez.
Yeah.
Big shout out to LJ. I see you, man, with the gifted membership. Big shout out to Wrench Wench. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. I see you working, girly. Shout out to Wrench Wench once again. Everybody knows Wrench now. She has hit this community with absolute speed. It's pretty awesome to see the growth. I know there's a lot of channels out there that I've been watching lately. I told you, once I hit 1,000, I kind of like relaxed. I went so hard for a year that I didn't want to get burnt out. There's a sense of burnout, but I definitely, is there anybody out there that, you're watching come up? They're just kind of in all of, I know Sammy like literally started this year too, and he's already at like 3,000 subscribers. What do you think is kind of the method to madness for starting out, and kind of finding your traction and your pace? I always get, similar responses, but what do you think is the most important thing when you're starting out on this YouTube journey?
So when you're trying to do content creation, I think there are a number of things that you can do that will greatly increase your ability to grow. I think consistency is going to be the number one thing, whether it's streaming or producing videos. Consistency is just absolutely massive. Identifying exactly what the audience actually wants and then doing it your own way is huge. And that's something else that we talked about a little bit. If everyone wants to go out there and do one thing, then there's a chance that the audience wants that. But if you do it exactly the same way that everyone's doing, then you're just going to get lost. You need to find some way to stand out. Whatever that is, if you can stand out, but also give the audience what they want, then that's going to be key. And I do think that, especially for streaming, consistency, the number one thing for sure.
Yeah, Sammy, you're a freak of nature, man. And obviously Sammy has the face and the build and all that stuff. But
I was going to say he's got the face card,
right? But one of the cool, and he's aerodynamic as heck, man. The aerodynamic guys, they Z28, Sammy, shout out to y'all, man. But
wild.
But hey, it's his own joke. He put it on. It's in his description. So, anyways, he ain't sensitive. No, but just seeing him go out to I watched the whole freaking video of him going out with Sparks and Hogston, and he was at I think he was at the GTWS again. And it's crazy because those events, I feel like there's so many of those events out there in the UK, and we got an expo coming out here in Chicago that I know a lot of people are going to. But doing things different. I think one of the good piece of advice is that we always hear is be yourself, and do things where you kind of are a little bit more vulnerable, and put yourself out there a little bit. I think when you do, like you involve your martial arts and, you're jumping and all the cool, being a stuntman and all these cool things that people find out about you outside of just sim racing. So do you ever, kind of how much time do you focus on sim racing and focus on the community, or is it all just kind of go together?
It's like when it comes to right now, as it stands, I'm trying to focus as much of my free time on trying to get out there and develop content that I think people would want to watch, and then also try to figure out a way to fit that into my life and in a way that's sustainable, if that makes sense.
Right.
Sure. I knew starting off that I wasn't going to be able to produce multiple videos a week at least the beginning. Like the very first anti-meta video that I made, it took me over 50 hours to make that one 30-minute video.
Jeez.
And a lot of it's just because learning the process, figuring out exactly what I want to do, figuring out a vision. And then after a while of figuring that out, I realized that I've gotten it down to the point where I can do a lot more quickly. And so then trying to figure out where I can fit in doing more projects. And so, I think it's developing.
For sure. Yeah. I think Papa, when I sat down for the first episode of Behind the Wheel with Papa, it took like an hour and a half to really even get it set up. Now it's, hey, I need 30 minutes before I know I can get it done. I got my process. It took me a while to build out this scene and to be able to kind of, input things and kind of develop this process and, my script and the pre-interview. But now it's kind of repetitious. And in the beginning, I was trying to do a lot. I was trying to stream for 10, 12 hours just to get that extra, 5 to 10 likes, and then I was trying to break up all my races into separate videos and then going and making short form content from that. And now I'm actually trying to do less is more. You know, I'm trying
Yeah.
to find a way to give quality content to, you know, the 1,000 people that are here. Like I told you, once I reached 1,000, I was like, I'm going to take a break. Took Misa and
Yeah.
the kids on vacation, spent some time with the family, worked on my trucks a little bit, you know, put
There you
some
go.
life priorities in front of it, because once I started working, I was getting off, and then it was trying to be in the rig for 5-6 hours and really trying to break my back to get some views. And then I realized, you know what? Like, if it's genuine and over time, like,
Yeah.
people are going to be here and they're going to hang out, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to get discouraged when they're not. And now what I do is, and I did this for myself, I took off all the numbers. I took off like the little clicker at the
Smart.
top that was showing me how many people were watching. I don't refresh my phone, so it still shows me that one person's watching and there's 2 likes. So I stopped worrying about that, and what it did for me was it helped me be the same genuine person throughout the stream. I was
That makes
able to
sense.
just, my energy didn't change based on who was watching or how many people were watching. Now I just focus on the chat, and I try to do the best I can in the game. And I've gotten a lot of peace from that. So
Yeah.
when I see people that are
That's huge.
stressing out so much about the numbers, like, yeah, celebrate those milestones, but just know that if you're just you, the genuine you, people are going to gravitate towards that. And
Very much.
don't, don't spend all your time trying to, beat your head against the wall trying to figure out something different. It's going to come naturally.
Very much. A lot of people, like, you can, even if people don't consciously recognize it, people can tell when you're only obsessing about the numbers.
Yeah.
People can tell when, like, there's content for entertainment and there's content for content's sake. Like, I struggle with the entire idea of, like, people saying, like, I'm creating content. And, like, even when I say it, I throw up in my mouth a little bit. Like, I want to make a video for someone. I want to make a movie for someone. And so, like, just like you said, when you're, like, just obsessed about the numbers, obsessed with the
And shave
content
your
in
head.
general, then you can't actually possibly produce something that people actually want to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's, again, shout out. There's been so many names that get shout out. I see you, Wrench, shouting out Carl, another awesome dude. I watched Carl send just a random person like a whole DD wheel, and I watched
It's wild.
it. It's crazy what people kind of do for people. And I brought this up, I think, probably in 90% of the behind the wheels. Like, Hogston GT was by far my most favorite community outreach. When he got hurt and he busted his knee, and I mean,
Oh.
he was relying on this YouTube thing to provide for his family at the time,
Oh,
because
wow.
disability sucks. And I know firsthand that disability sucks. And watching, he got a whole rig, wheel, everything sent up. His whole life got upgraded, and his channel's
Yeah,
going
I
through the
love
freaking
that.
roof. Absolutely impressed with that kind of community. And then the people who rallied around him. There's a lot of, I see it all the time. RSR, Real Squad Racing, the way that they rally around each other. We had a
Yeah.
question earlier, I think it was from Crawler, saying that, do you feel like you need to be a part of a team? What does the
Mhm.
team side of it bring to you? I know you were saying with the help, but
Yeah.
being a part of a team, how big is that for you?
Man, if you want to be competitive, one of the main things that, like, this is it's going to seem obvious, but one of the main things that people are going to provide you on a team is the camaraderie. These are people who are all experiencing the same thing as you. And so when you're having a down day about race, if you're struggling with a combo or something like that, these are people who like you, who you like, personally, and you're close with, who are going through the same thing as you. On top of that, like, you talked about how I was Digit watches multiple replays.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a team, you'll have, like, if you have 5 or 6 people with you in your practice, every one of these people is gonna have a different perspective on what you're doing wrong, or what you can improve, or even what you're doing right, to then reinforce the correct things you're doing. So it's like immediately having a bunch of peer coaches. And so that is absolutely huge. If you wanna talk about, like, specifics though, if you're on track and you have someone, like, even if you're competing against your teammate, if you're in any kind of race, and let's say, this is something I talk about in my guides all the time. If you have a friend in front of you and they can move to the side 10 feet to give you slipstream rather than someone else, that can completely change the complexion of a race. So, like, on a very specific basis, they can actually help you in the race while still following the rules. But when it comes to, like, a more broad, like, general idea, the resource of having teammates is absolutely massive. I think if you're really serious about getting into sim racing or improving in sim racing, then I think joining a team is the very best thing that you can do for yourself.
For sure, for sure. And by joining a team, it doesn't mean you're like restricted from hanging out with other teams. You know,
Yeah,
I've been
exactly.
on PhD since like my second month on YouTube. Like Papa jumped in and was like, "Hey man, we want you to be a part of our squad." And it was like, you know, it was already like 40, 50 people that immediately just kind of like welcomed me in. And, you know, I got guys on
Yeah.
there that I can turn to for track guides, for help, for information. Having Discord and all these extra resources, you know, to communicate, it definitely makes life a little bit easier. And then coming into the GT community, those people having your back, it's pretty big too. I know there's, you know, some people think that, you know, if you get on a team, then, you know, you're restricted from everybody else, but I've never experienced that, you know,
Yeah.
whether it be
Mm-mm.
AHR, RTR, or, you know, anybody, Digits guys, the Greasies guys, you know, anybody. I feel like everybody's been pretty welcoming. And then when it comes to pushing away like the negative side of the community, I hope that I've been a good example in that, you know, and I've in psychology learned right off the bat, reward positive, ignore negative. So I push all that stuff out, but I've definitely had people ask me, you know, how do you manage, you know, when you, as your stream gets bigger, how do you manage the community when it comes to like the negatives or anybody kind of speaking down at you? And my answer has always been, I just block it out and move on from it.
Yeah.
Misery loves
Yeah,
company.
that's tough.
Yield
No, very
2D.
much.
You know Yield. Everybody knows Yield.
Yeah.
Yield 2D with 5 gifted memberships, man. Thank you so much. I
Massive.
appreciate you. He was on Behind the Wheel a couple weeks ago. Another amazing guy. I don't know if you got a chance, maybe, you know, now that we're talking a little bit more, you go back and check out my birthday video that I posted. Yield was one of the
Yeah.
guys. He was actually out at a track, took the time to give me a live birthday shout out from the
Oh, that's
track, live
beautiful.
cars. Awesome, dude. This community's definitely made me cry once or twice.
Been
It's
there.
definitely brought me out of a little bit of depression, like I was talking about, back when I was, you know, first starting and on disability, trying to figure out something to do. I hung out today with Grover. Definitely want to shout out, I believe it's Mission 22. Mission 22 represents the 22 lives that are lost every day to veteran suicides.
Oh yeah.
So he's a awesome dude. He was in the Gulf War. He was in Croatia in like 88 and
Wow.
89. He was telling me about kind of that's why he like loves Digit. So meeting people like that just
Yeah.
makes me want to tell more stories, man. And having you on here and being able to kind of walk through your story and kind of talk about some of the things you've done, dude. I'm giddy, man. This has been an awesome chat. Is there anybody that you again, as we're winding this out, we're gonna talk about names, and then I don't know if I've seen some more guesses about your age, but to put it out there, the man before you somehow is 40 years old. Has got the face of a 20-year-old. So just if you guys want to hit him up about his face creams or, you know, whatever he uses to
That's
maintain
I have a
that.
funny story about that. My very first sponsorship on Twitch was a skincare company.
Mine's gonna
They're
be a
called
beard, dude.
Geology.
I want the Viking
Yeah, you gotta
beard.
get in there.
I need something. I was actually gonna shave my beard the other day, and then all my kids were like, "No, please don't."
I cannot grow a beard.
Yeah,
That's the downside
forever
of it.
young, forever
Yeah,
young.
it won't happen.
You
Can't
get
do
like
it.
the patches where it's
It's
like
yeah,
just a little spot here, and then it just leaves
I
the
don't
cheeks.
I don't mean to make fun of the guy because I love Keanu Reeves, but if you've ever seen his beard,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it's like a weak Keanu.
He went. I mean, it's like what John Wick 4. He went like full beard too, and he still
Yeah,
has like the cutouts right here. Shout
yeah,
out to
it's
John Wick, man. Keanu Reeves is awesome. He's like a black belt in jujitsu. He's
dude's
also a
amazing.
judo guy. Loves bikes. I don't know if you've seen the bikes that he's built,
Oh,
but
yeah.
oh my
Arch, is
gosh,
it?
yeah, amazing, amazingly cool. He's got like, you know, kind of the naked front end. You know, kind of
Yeah.
sticking to like real motorcraft. Really awesome, dude. Let's see who else is here. Sydney, I see you. I see you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Rex here before we get out of here? And now we're gonna have to take a moment for you to explain to us where the name came from.
Oh, yeah, so, I love dinosaurs. Um, I have really short arms and a giant head like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it just perfectly works out for Tyrannosaurus 'cause Cyrus is actual. So it's the short arms and the big head, and I'm old. So, it just worked perfectly.
No, it's definitely like, so how big did you start off in YouTube as TyrannoCyrus Rex? Was it just like awesome from the beginning, or did you have like a different name?
I was actually at work about a month out from quitting, and I'm like, I gotta think of something funny. No, it was hold on, I apologize. I came up with it random. I was at work. I came up with it randomly because I wanted a screen name for my tricking account, the flips and that kind of stuff. And then I was like, I'm old, I have a giant head and short arm. TyrannoCyrus Rex. And it ended up being perfect. And so yeah,
Hey,
then from that account, I was like, wait, I can just use that exact same name for my streaming stuff. And so immediately made the Twitch account, made the YouTube account.
merged
And that was
everything
it.
together. Did you come up
Yeah.
with your own logo, or did someone make that for you?
So this logo is actually my rebranding. I had one of those cheap Fiverr logos for a long time.
Uh,
And I loved that one. That was really cool. And then it was getting to the point where I felt like it looked too much like everyone. And so one of my old teammates, his name's 𝙃𝙼𝙑𝙀𝙀, the kid's going to school for graphic, absolute genius. And he gave me an entire rebranding package, including this logo.
oh, that's
I used to
awesome.
have a mohawk too.
Okay, that was my
It's
next
back now.
question. Was like, did you
So
have the mohawk?
it's coming back a little
He's
bit.
40 years old, got the full head of hair, got the baby skin. This guy.
And so yeah, it's a dinosaur with a mohawk. So it's just supposed to be.
I used to rock the faux hawk for sure. Back in my
I
fighting
love it.
days, man.
Yeah.
It was just my look, man. And I rocked it for probably 5-6 years, just hardcore. And
It's a good look.
then I just went over the comb over hard line and, you know, trying to keep it professional. And then when I started, I had like I said, my beard was down to like my chest. So I had my logo
wild.
was just a beard. It was I
Yeah.
didn't even have the Viking part. So like in my early streams, it's literally just like, you know, I know a little bit of Photoshop, enough to make like, you know, the round letters, but I'm in graphic arts a little bit. So I know it's got to be simple, you know, something that I could replicate, something if I wanted some t-shirts done or a banner. And I've gone through this a lot of branding. I've helped with a lot of startups. So I know that
Yeah.
like, you know, if you come up with a real complex logo and then you go try to get some prints done, they're going to
Tough.
charge you through the roof. You know, you're going to get extra charges, kind of every color, every different shape. So I wanted to be able to have something simple, and then I kind of just came up with that, and then the bearded brethren thing. So I don't know if I can ever get rid of the beard. I might actually have like a face reveal
Hey, there you go.
video
Yeah.
one time.
That's
And
content.
I'm wondering, yeah, like I said, I'm wondering how many people show up if I did like a face reveal and just, you know, prove to people that I have a chin.
It's there. I
Yeah,
promise.
yeah. For women, they get to do their makeup and stuff. But a guy, you know, if you're ugly, grow out the beard. You know, you'll definitely bump up a couple notches, man. Not everybody gets the TyrannoCyrus Rex treatment. Like, we got to get swole, man. So
Yeah.
so what do you do now? Is it just YouTubing, or do you do stuff with your you know, your martial arts and stuff outside?
Yeah, so I actually like officially quit the stunt industry for a while.
Okay.
I'm thinking about getting back into it. There's apparently I talked to one of my old friends who's in the industry and they might need more people. I'm essentially running on borrowed time right now, trying to make full time. So I'm hoping that I can continue growing to the actually justify doing this full time.
Mhm.
Because as of right now, it's still pretty tough. So yeah, I'm just trying to focus on Twitch is keeping me going for a while, like a little bit. So I used to stream on Twitch 5 days a week. I'm now down to 3.
See you,
And then
Blanco.
what's that?
I was just saying goodbye to Blanco.
Oh, bye Blanco. And
He's gonna be doing we're projected to do behind the wheel live from the expo in September out in Chicago.
oh,
He's gonna
that's
be going to
legit.
that. So trying to figure out how we're gonna do that. But been wanting to get Blanco on here for a long time. Awesome story. Works really hard, and his channel's starting to show it. I know he's rapidly approaching 1,000 subscribers, so definitely want
Let's
to
go.
support him in that, man. Congratulations.
Huge.
But
Can I answer some of these questions?
yeah, please do. That's what I was gonna kind of go into.
Oh, let's see. All right. Scrolling up a little bit. Sid is correct. It's not having a routine. Sid is my partner. Sid's going to be going to circus school in about 6
Circus
weeks.
school?
Circus school.
Dude,
Cirque du
that's
Soleil is in Sid's future.
what? What
Sid
does
will
he
deny
do?
that, but they do acro dance,
Oh, geez.
flips, dance, gymnastics, ballet.
I've been to
They're
one
incredible.
Circus Soleil circus once. It was like the
Yeah,
dragons. It was like a dragon theme, and my son
it's
really loves
crazy.
dragons.
It's wild. It's
Blows my
just
mind.
most impressive person I've ever met. I would like to be considered a gearhead, yo. I know so little about actually working on cars. All of my car knowledge comes from Gran Turismo and Fast and the Furious.
I love
Unfortunately.
when I meet folks who are like that. Like I've talked to like Lead Pencil, or I think I was talking to Lead or Jester, one of the
Yeah.
guys, about just like being a race fan, and I was like, I know nothing really about it. I
Yeah.
grew up watching NHRA, and when Dale died, it was like, I'm all right, I'm done with
Yeah.
NASCAR.
Yeah. No, honestly, it makes sense. Yeah, it's tough. Um, where I saw another one. I have not done any stunt doubling for famous people, but I have been in projects with relatively famous people. Noah Wiley, I got to stuff him into a chamber once. I was on the Librarians. So Noah Wiley, I cannot remember his name. He played Walter Bishop in Fringe. He was also, I think, Denethor in Lord of the Rings. And then what's her face? I can't remember the other really famous lady from that show.
At
My
least she
brain's
has
just
a
not working
face.
today. Yes.
No, I'm
Yes.
impressed though, man. I'm impressed. Your memory recall and like having all this information about people, like it's something we share in common too. Because Misa will tell me all the time, like, how do you remember all of these things? And it's like, I don't know. I just kind of go back and put myself in the moment, remember, little tidbits
Yeah.
and random facts. Like my brain's full of random useless knowledge.
Yeah. I love sitting. I watch Jeopardy like every night.
Yeah.
My friend is encouraging me to take the anytime test, so I might do that.
No, Wretch, I've
Um,
never watched. I love GP, but I've never even like really watched it enough to know like who races what. I'm
yeah.
just now reached. Me and Misa are just now starting to like watch racing, because now I recognize kind of how I guess I've always knew how dangerous it is, but I've never had I've never really had a reason to kind of bond with it until now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't watch a lot of I started watching F1 after I started sim racing back in a million years ago. I think whatever year it was that Sebastian Vettel won his very first World Drivers' Championship.
Any road car.
That's the one.
What's your
Drive any
what's
road
your
car.
top road car? Is it going to be a Skyline? Now, because I know you like the Z's.
I love the R34. I am aware that it's not actually as good as Gran Turismo makes it seem. I want to drive an R34 someday. An S15 Sylvia would be my other, but
Okay.
I'm very lucky to have driven an M2 and an M8 competition in LA, and I got to drive. I don't even know what year it was. An M3. Those were incredible. I fell in
I
love with
love the M3.
BMW.
Yeah,
It's
I don't so much
incredible.
like the newer tech look of the BMWs. Like I
Yeah.
really like the Need for Speed M3, that body
Yep.
style. I've always wanted one of those. I had a partner who had one, and I got to drive it, and it's just such a solid car, such a
It's
beautiful car. And I
incredible.
had a
I love BMWs.
535i, really
Oh
enjoyed it. Such a
yeah.
solid car. But I mean, I guess my street car. I mean, I want a Hellcat. I had a Challenger
Hell
RT,
yeah.
but I'd like to have a Scat Pack, for fuel reasons. But I'd obviously love to have a, like a Red Eye for, that top
Mm,
feel. But I guess realistically in my life, and I've been talking to Misa, I really want to get to like a Z06. I want that.
hell yeah.
I really would love to have that. That '06 ZR1, like that's in the game, it's a beast.
Incredible car. I had a
Insane.
base model C6 for years.
Nice. I've had two
That was
C4s.
incredible. Incredible cars.
Yeah, Arctic White 40th anniversary, and then a 90. I think it was the 93 LS collector's edition, like all gray
I love those.
T
Absolutely
tops.
love those.
Super cool car. I mean, there's nothing like when you get in a vet, you immediately feel like, I felt like Vice City in a C4. Like I was
Honestly, yeah.
just like, man, I need to go. So I need to take this to California, man.
No,
But
honestly.
I've always been into bikes. You were telling me that you never kind of got into bikes, but I've had 16 or 14 bikes. The ZX14 is the 14th
Wow.
bike. Yeah, and I had my accident back in 2013 when I hit. And I was
Damn.
telling you I degloved my right knee, detached my PCL, 28 days in ICU, had to learn to walk
Terrifying.
like twice. First time after the trauma healed, and then they rebuilt the PCL and to learn to walk again. So was
Wow.
big into martial arts, man. Like I said, jujitsu,
Yeah.
MMA. I fought for 6 years. I thought I was going to be a poster child for the UFC, man. I had
Yeah.
beaten a couple guys, you know, in wrestling, you know, a really good wrestling career, beating a couple of the guys that are in the UFC right now. And just, it's a very small
Wild.
world. You know, it's like GT.
It
You
is.
look at this
Yeah.
community like, oh, there's so many of you. But in the end, man, the A class is like 300 revolving guys that you race with, you know, but
Yeah. Pretty much.
is there anything else, you know, that you kind of do that hobby wise, like outside of just racing and martial arts?
I do love gaming. I've been a gamer my entire life, and I think I wouldn't have gotten into racing in general. I fell in love with Gran Turismo. I was just like trying to find more games to play, and then I guess I developed my love through Gran Turismo mostly,
Yeah. No,
which is strange.
I fell into Gran Turismo because like I was playing like crew and I got into like
Yeah.
crew and I was like, man, this is so realistic. And then I was telling my buddy, we were having like an argument. I was like, it's so realistic. It's like, man, crew 2 is that's that's make believe. What are you talking about? He's like, you need to try Gran Turismo. And I was like, well, I've like played Gran Turismo, but never played it. And then I
Yeah.
had the wheel and I was like, all right, well, let's buy Gran Turismo. And so we got Gran Turismo Sport at the time. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this was never fun until I got on a wheel. It was more frustrating than anything. And I
That
was
makes
always a
sense.
guy, like I wanted to free roam. I wanted to, you know,
Yeah.
if I was going to drive fast, I wanted it to be in like Grand Theft Auto. Like, you know, I could do this in real
Exactly.
life.
Yeah. Nah, I feel that
I think as
very
you
much.
mature though, you definitely start to appreciate some of the more simulated games. What's
I
your
think so.
favorite game like outside of sim?
Oh my god. Oh, that's a tough one. I really like JRPGs. The Persona and Final Fantasy series have
Okay.
been huge for me. I also like more Western RPGs. I really like Elder Scrolls.
You
I
play
like
like Red
Fallout. I
Dead?
even like the I do like Red Dead. I do like that game.
I saw they
I
just
like,
opened it for like modding. So there's all
yeah,
kinds of
I
crazy
think it'd be
stuff in it. They
crazy.
got like spaceships and people are putting things that are not in the Wild West like
I do like that.
supercars. And
That
I
is
saw
so
like
funny.
Iron Man walking through like,
I saw modded Counter-Strike maps. Someone was drifting a car in Counter. I thought that was I love Fortnite. I will admit it.
you do?
I know
My
it's
son loves
hilarious. I
Fortnite,
love
man. He's a
Fortnite.
Fortnite junkie.
Sid and I
I'll have to
play
get like
Fortnite
your
all the time.
Fortnite tag so he can jump in there.
There you go. No, I
We
just
did like a Fortnite birthday party for him when he was, gosh, like
let's go.
9. So I made a bunch of Fortnite t-shirts and stuff.
I do
I
like it.
played Final Fantasy, but it's just so long. I did play Skyrim. I did get into Skyrim.
Skyrim's fantastic.
I think I killed like 4 dragons before I
Yeah,
finally had to play a different game because I was going crazy.
I was obsessed. Yeah,
But
Final Fantasy and all the old school RPGs are huge for me. So currently, I love it's called 𝙃𝘼𝙑𝙀 Expedition 33. It's one of the
okay,
best games I've ever played and just came out.
okay. So definitely a big gamer.
Yeah,
Sammy's a big Finals Fantasy guy too. That's funny.
smart
You
man
know,
Sammy.
that's funny. Like it's. I feel like us guys that like beat the crap out of our bodies really enjoy gaming because it's something we could do that doesn't hurt us.
Yeah, no, honestly, very much. Yeah,
That's what me for racing. Like I tell her I was like, you know, it really does scratch the itch. You know, like I like going fast.
yeah.
I don't. I drive a Suburban and a Tahoe, right?
There
So
you
I
go.
drive very slow. I keep it grandpa, you know, and then I have a freaking Victory Hammer, which is a drag bike, and
Let's
a
go.
Kawasaki ZX14. And I completely shift. Like I put my helmet on and it's like I drive way too fast on those. So actually being in the rig, I get off and I feel like, man, I've been fulfilled in my speed craving for the day.
Yeah, no, that tracks. That tracks. That wasn't even meant to be a pun,
No,
but that
no,
very much.
it works. It works for sure. Hell yeah, man. Dude, I've had such a damn good time with you today,
It
man.
was amazing.
I
I
feel like,
really appreciate you having me on the show, man. This
yeah,
has been
dude.
great.
It was really awesome. You know, when I reached out to you, honestly, I try not to plan out the behind the wheels too much. I try not to get like a list going. I did at one time. I had 4 behind the wheels planned out, and then Sparks completely rescheduled on me, or he got real busy. One day I'm gonna get Sparks on here, but he got really busy. You know, a lot of the
Oh, that
guys that have
sparks.
families and stuff like that, they do. And then it like kind of messed up my whole schedule, and I was like, all right, I'm done planning. So now it's just kind of a genuine, hey, you know, you want to be on behind the wheel, but it's because I've been watching anti meta for the last like 3 months, just religiously. I'm
Let's
like,
go.
dude, I gotta get Cyrus out here, man. I was like, I'm sitting here watching him too damn much. I need to have a conversation. Same thing with Sammy. I'm in awe of just how freaking fast he is. You know, and just kind of popped up kind of out of nowhere for everybody. And I'm really curious as to what that was like. You know, like I was told that I came up fast, that getting to 1,000 quickly, but dude, Sammy's at like 5,000 and it's been like 6 months, Sammy. Jesus, it
Sammy knows what he's doing.
has not been that long. His short form content is legit, puts in a lot of work, man. He's got a lot of amazing equipment. So I'm really excited to have him on. I believe hopefully it's next week, unless we have any other schedule drops. But thank you for being on here, man. You're an awesome dude.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate
learning about
you.
your life has been awesome. I'll give you like kind of this last little bit to say your goodbyes and shout out to everybody left in the chat, man. But floor is yours.
All right. Oh man. I forgot to answer a couple questions. Yes, John Noble. That was the one. You nailed that. I don't know what else I missed. I thought I missed something else. Either way, I appreciate all the people that I recognize for stopping by and supporting Viking. If you haven't yet, you better sub to the. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the Sammy Snake interview. To be quite honest, that's gonna be great. Yeah, thank you for having me on. I like being able to talk. It feeds the inner narcissist in me, and I like any opportunity to talk to the
I know if
community.
you're behind the
I love
camera, you
people.
like to get the ego stroked a little bit. guys,
Yeah, at least a little bit. Beef, I have not meant to ignore you or Sid or any of the other people. There's been so much to talk to. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Thank you for supporting Viking. Thank you for supporting me. And I had a great time, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hell yeah, dude. Thank you for being here. Like I said, I feel like we could just sit here and kind of chat for no reason.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure people will probably sit here and watch, but I got family to get to. I'm trying to get back on later to get some streaming because I'm like really excited.
Hell yeah.
Thinking that I'm faster in my head because of what Luke pointed out in my throttle position.
That's gonna be big
week.
for you.
Yeah, I'm in my head. I think I can get into like the top 100. I just need to put in the time.
So.
I need to find the time to do it. So I'm gonna jump out and hang out with the family and do that as well. But appreciate you once again, man. I look forward to seeing you out there.
Brother.
And it's definitely always cool to make a new friend out here. So
hell yeah.
Look forward to it, brother. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Later, man. Holy snaps, man. What a good interview. Tyranno Cyrus. I still hear him in my ear. See, this I gotta let them know that I'm gonna do my closing because Cyrus is still here. You guys can still see him. He's still there. Everybody wave. But yeah, brother, I'm gonna go ahead and close out. And then I'll jump back on call with you, man. I appreciate you. Everybody who was in the chat, thank you guys so much. Jay, Heisenberg, Wrench, Sydney, Grovers, Misa, Wilkie, Otto, Joe. Haven't seen you in a while, brother. My bearded brother. Appreciate you. AJ out there, Mr. Huckleberry himself, Blanket Ship, J Funk, LVP, Road Beef, Cold Trickle, Sammy Snake. Man, so excited to get you out here. Definitely interested in hearing your story. A giant in life, a giant in the GT community, and a giant in the YouTube community as well. Rachel's GT, I see you out there. Yil, thank you so much for your support. Everybody, a lot of work goes into these, so I do appreciate you guys making it worth it on that side. Thank you for the donos. I try to pay for it as much as I can. Like I said, I've given far more than I receive, and I'll keep that trend going. Who have I missed? Jay Funk, I think I got you out there. I know Beef got mentioned a whole bunch. Jay, thank you for your support. And everybody else. It's been awesome. This was episode 18. And we're going to keep it going. And hopefully we get to like episode 100 one day and we do some crazy big giveaway or something like that. But the mission is to spread positivity, to merge our communities and to build that bridge between streamers. And I think we did that today. So I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And until next time, Viking King is out.
Racing souls of fire inside, chasing dreams where the legends hide. Through the turns, the glory's real. Behind the wheel, we feel the thrill. Papa's house, the crown shines bright. Crazy lanes in the dead of night. Austin GT and Rick B's reign. Grim and the crew driving it insane. Erratic twists and Marley's groove. Hypnotic grace with every move. Jackal flies and jesters grin. This is the race where we all begin. C20 wave, burns the track. 𝙃𝙼𝙀𝙀, there's no going back. Worries, pace, and TQ stride. 𝙃𝙼𝙆𝙀, the kingdom's pride. Papa's house, the crown shines bright. Crazy lanes in the dead of night. Austin GT and 𝙃𝙼𝙆𝙀, Grim and the crew driving insane. Legends carved on asphalt's face. Racing royalty holds the space. We honor them, we join the scene. Our favorite racers, the speed supreme. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, but Naughty's grace with every move. 𝙃𝙼𝙂𝙀 and gestures grin. This is the race where we all begin. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, but Naughty's grace with every move. 𝙃𝙼𝙂𝙀 and gestures grin. This is the race where we all begin. Insane. 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 Erratic twists and Marley's groove, but Naughty's grace with every move. 𝙃𝙼𝙂𝙀 and gestures grin. This is the race where we all begin. Racing souls of fire inside, chasing dreams where the legends hide. Through the turns, the glory's real. Behind the wheel, we feel the thrill. Papa's house, the crown shines bright. Crazy lanes in the dead of night. Austin GT and 𝙃𝙼𝙆𝙀, Grim and the crew driving insane. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, but Naughty's grace with every move. 𝙃𝙼𝙂𝙀 and gestures grin. This is the race where we all begin. C20 wave, buzz the track. 𝙃𝙼𝙀𝙀, there's no going back. Worries, pace, and TQ stride. 𝙃𝙼𝙆𝙀𝙀, the kingdom's pride. Papa's house, the crown shines bright. Crazy lanes in the dead of night. Austin GT and 𝙃𝙼𝙆𝙀, Grim and the crew driving insane. Carved on asphalt's face. Racing royalty holds the space. We honor them, we join the scene. Our favorite racers, the speed supreme. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, but Naughty's grace with every move. 𝙃𝙼𝙂𝙀 and gestures grin. This is the race where we all begin. Erratic twists and Marley's groove, but Naughty's grace with every move. 𝙃𝙼𝙂𝙀 and gestures grin. This is the race where we all begin. Insane. 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 Erratic twists and Marley's groove, but Naughty's grace with every move. 𝙃𝙼𝙂𝙀 and gestures grin. This is the race where we all begin.